I would like to introduce our next presenter, Ms. Erin Fletcher, who is a clinical psychologist with the Wounded Warrior Project. Ms. Fletcher?
Thank you. So I know I'm standing between you guys and lunch, so I appreciate everybody sort of bearing with me so we can talk about some of the incredible programs that Wounded Warrior Project has to offer in the mental health space. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about some of our life-saving and life-changing programs. Our signature program is the Warrior Care Network, which provides 2 to 3 weeks of intensive outpatient treatment for mental health disorders such as post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. And hearing Dr. Marty speak, it really resonated with me what completion of this program really provides for our servicemen and women as it relates to resilience. It's a easily accessible resource. For servicemen and women, participation in this program helps build a sense of connection with other individuals with shared experiences, and it really helps reconnect with that sense of purpose. So what is the mission of Warrior Care Network? And that's to heal the invisible wounds of war. And our vision is to revolutionize and deliver the highest standard of individualized care, to increase access to the very best care for wounded warriors and their family members, to be a national leader, innovator, and integrator in the delivery of treatment for warriors living with cognitive and psychological injuries, and to heal the whole person, to empower them to pursue a path to wellness. All right, so one of our primary focuses within Warrior Care Network is to increase access and to break down barriers to care, right? So we know and understand that it takes courage to seek care, particularly mental health treatment. We know that there's a significant amount of stigma associated with that. So we want the process of seeking care to be as seamless as possible. We don't want there to be a cumbersome intake process or long wait times or paperwork to fill out that you don't understand. You're in a stressful situation. We want to capitalize on that willingness to seek treatment right there. So we don't want cost to be a barrier. We don't want how am I going to get there? How am I going to commit to 2 to 3 weeks of treatment away from my family? These are things that we're going to work to break down those barriers so that when that individual finds that courage to say, I'm going to seek treatment, that it's readily available. The Warrior Care Network promotes data sharing to accelerate progress across the entire mental health treatment landscape. So I'll get to in a minute here, the 4 hospitals that we partner with, but I can tell you that this data sharing is pretty unique to Warrior Care Network. Many, well-renowned, treatment programs kind of keep their secret sauce, of treatment close to the vest. This isn't something that they necessarily, want to share. They're very proud of the research and the work that they're doing, which is certainly respectable. But the treatment teams and the hospitals involved in Warrior Care Network are committed to a level of collaboration that's going to ultimately better the field of trauma treatment for our veterans. The purpose is to develop advanced models of care and long-term wellness, and then things that we've heard themes throughout this entire morning, which is normalizing the acknowledgement and seeking treatment for mental health conditions. All right, so what is Warrior Care Network? So Wounded Warrior Project has partnered with 4 leading academic medical centers across the country to heal invisible wounds, including post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, and related conditions such as major depression and other anxiety disorders. Our 4 partners include Emory Healthcare Veterans Program in Atlanta, Massachusetts General Hospital Home Base Program in Boston, Rush University Medical Center's Road Home Program in Chicago, and UCLA Health's Operation Men program in Los Angeles. So the AMCs provide evidence-based clinical treatment in a 2 to 3 week intensive outpatient format. So the treatment takes place between 8 and 5 every day with additional weekend and evening activities that I'll kind of map out later, but these programs certainly put the intense in the intense outpatient model, But what I can tell you is that warriors who complete this program have seen a significant reduction in PTSD and depressive symptoms, translating into increased resiliency and improved overall quality of life. And we'll look at these outcomes in a little bit. So who should apply for Warrior Care Network? Who is this program designed for? And Warrior Care Network is ideal for service members or veterans who have served or deployed after September 11th, 2001, who have sustained moderate to severe PTSD, to include military sexual trauma, and or a TBI related to their post 9/11 service. To be considered for the program, you have to be able to travel and attend the program for at least 2 weeks. And as I mentioned, we help arrange all the details to get folks there. What is Warrior Care Network not designed for? So this intensive outpatient is not designed for individuals who have been hospitalized for the last 30 days. We're looking to have kind of a little bit more stability to really dig into the intensive trauma work that will be completed throughout your program. Active substance abuse is not something that's really compatible with this level of treatment. So we're looking to have the ability to either reduce or stop any sort of substance use before you come in, and that's something that the treatment team will help this individual with if that's kind of a primary problem. Help them sort of move through that to get in a place where this treatment's going to be really effective. And then this isn't a program for someone who is actively suicidal or who has attempted suicide in the last month. Again, need that level of stability to really get the most gains out of this program. And I should say, so the determination of who is most appropriate for treatment is always going to be decided by the treatment teams at the hospitals. Wounded Warrior Project is kind of the referral source to the various hospitals, but that clinical team is going to decide who's most appropriate for their specific program. So what does the intake process look like? As I mentioned, Wounded Warrior Project is kind of the primary referral source for Warrior Care Network. And it begins by speaking with a Wounded Warrior Project teammate on our Warrior Care Network team who's going to complete an eligibility screen. They're going to talk with the veteran about what they're experiencing, really understand kind of their own unique symptoms, their unique experience to make the best referral for one of the 4 hospitals. Once they complete that eligibility screen, they're going to go on to complete a more intensive, formal clinical evaluation by the treatment team at the hospital. If it's decided that that warrior is not a good fit in that moment, I like to tell our folks that this is not necessarily a no forever, might be a no for right now, but most importantly, they're going to be provided with resources and recommendations for how they can get prepared to come into the program. So the treatment team at the hospital will provide resources, and then once you're involved in the Wounded Warrior Project, we have you. So we're going to provide you with resources and connect you with what you need to best suit your particular instance. So all travel costs, all treatment costs, meals, accommodations are at no cost to the participating warrior or family. Again, we don't want that to get in the way of getting this world-renowned care. We're looking to remove, barriers to care at any point that we can. So what can you expect? What makes this program different than some of the other treatment programs that are out there? So in this 2 to 3 weeks, warriors receive, on average, more than 70 direct treatment hours for post-traumatic stress, along with complementary alternative therapies. We're really taking a holistic approach to treatment. This isn't, exclusively going to be, trauma-focused therapy for 8 hours a day. We want to treat the whole person. We certainly recognize the mind-body connection. So there's going to be a comprehensive medical review and evaluation. There's individual and group treatment sessions, stress management, resiliency training, fitness and nutrition education. We certainly recognize and emphasize the connection between our physical health and our mental health, family support and education, and then complementary alternative therapies such as yoga, mindfulness, Tai Chi, equine assisted therapy, things that are going to complement the individual and group treatment that you're getting. In those treatments, the individual and group-based therapies are using cognitive processing therapy or prolonged exposure therapy. These are 2 heavily empirically supported treatments and that are the gold standard for trauma-informed care. So if you think about this, so 70 hours of treatment over the course of 2 to 3 weeks, that's over a year of your more traditional outpatient therapy if you go once a week for an hour, which I'm a psychologist, I'm never gonna, knock going to any kind of therapy. But if you're looking to really see some significant results and to see some significant relief to the pain and suffering that folks are going through related to these invisible wounds, this is where it's gonna happen. It's an incredible amount of treatment in a short amount of time that has very lasting results. All right, so family support involvement. Family participation opportunities vary based on the location, but Warrior Care Network will engage family members in patient care and family-centered treatment whenever possible. The goal is to empower families to find the skills and strengths that allow the whole family to heal as one. We recognize that things like post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injury doesn't just impact the individual. It impacts the entire family unit. We want to provide families the opportunity to learn about what is going on with their loved one, learn how best to support their loved one throughout the treatment process. We want to provide education to the family members and support system on what their family member is going through. We want them to speak the same language so that they can capitalize on the gains that they achieved while they were in programming when they go home. Family member involvement is really left up to the individual, and it's defined by that individual. This doesn't have to be your mom, dad, your spouse. This is somebody that the individual has identified as a support person, someone who's there to support them through their journey of recovery, and those are the folks that we're going to either bring out to the physical treatment space, or we're going to bring you in with video conferencing, conference calls. We're going to have that level of involvement so that nobody feels like they're going through this alone. Another theme that we've heard about throughout the morning. This is not something that you have to deal with on your own, nor should you. It's just not as effective. So what is the impact of Warrior Care Network? The outcomes that we're seeing are pretty incredible. So from its inception, from January 2016 to today, the Warrior Care Network program has treated thousands of post-9/11 injured veterans. Our goal for our next year is to serve across all 4 sites an additional 2,300 veterans this year. 95% of warriors who participate in the IOP complete their treatment. And this is a pretty outstanding statistic. The completion rate for other mental health services, including traditional outpatient therapies or even other IOPs or partial hospitalization programs that you might go through at various resources, is about 50 to 65%. So once this individual completes or commits to treatment and gets there, they're going to finish. 95% of warriors report satisfaction with the clinical care that they receive from Warrior Care Network, and 90% of warriors report that the care they received from the program resulted in helping address their needs. So the 2 statistics about the completion rate and the satisfaction rate are the 2 that I talk to warriors about the most. I have a slide coming up here that's going to talk about the more specific clinical outcomes that we're seeing with the decrease in symptomology. But if we talk about PTSD and we talk about traumatic brain injury, PTSD in particular is a disorder of avoidance. So this is not something, facing one's trauma, while we've all heard throughout today, is incredibly important to the healing process, and it won't happen until we acknowledge it. But being willing to acknowledge it and then being willing to commit to 2 to 3 weeks of trauma-informed therapy is extremely daunting, and that's not lost on Wounded Warrior Project, and that's not lost on the clinical teams at these AMCs. But when folks get there and when they settle in and when they feel supported and are surrounded by individuals that have these shared experiences, they're going to go through the treatment and they're going to commit to it, and they're going to get better. So I did this and I completed it, but I didn't have to like it, and I didn't have to want to be there. But the second statistic is they're incredibly satisfied with the program. Was it hard? Absolutely. Were there times that warriors have wanted to leave, that this, all felt like it was too much. But being surrounded by that level of support, they stay, they get better, and then they tell their friends about it. They tell, their family, and they want to share what they received, with their fellow servicemen and women. So these are just two really, really incredible statistics. So, a lot of words, very small print. But if we look at more of the clinical outcomes, so in order to measure the effectiveness of this program, we're constantly, assessing these individuals throughout their time in treatment. We want to know that this is working. It's an incredible investment in time and resources, and so we want to make sure that this works. So we use a variety of assessment tools, but two I'm going to talk about. One is the PTSD checklist, which in its name looks at PTSD symptomology, and then we're looking at your overall kind of mental health, and that's through our PHQ-9, which is the Patient Health Questionnaire. As I mentioned in the beginning, the ideal warrior for this treatment program is somebody who's experiencing moderate to severe levels of symptoms, okay? So throughout treatment, individuals who are in the severe level of symptomology will move down into, on average, the moderate level. Some will go from severe to minimal. Individuals who are in the moderate level will then go down to minimal. And we have research that shows that individuals, upon completion of the program, no longer meet criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder anymore. Again, at the end of a 2 to 3 week program, the symptom reduction is, statistically significant. And so, great, big number, we're really proud of that. And sure, that happens right at the end of your 2 to 3 week program where you're feeling, really good, and you feel proud of yourself, and you feel that sort of relief, and you're ready to sort of take on the world. But we want this to be lasting change. We don't want this to end, at 2 to 3 weeks. So we're going to assess this at the 6th and 9-month mark. And so what we found is individuals, they're still, maintaining at that moderate level. For some folks, they have kind of a little bit of a spike when they go home, but they're not alone. When you leave this treatment program, you're set up with a comprehensive discharge plan with resources in your community. To help you, again, maintain the gains that you achieved in the program. So the majority of individuals are not returning to their baseline level of symptoms. So the change is real, and it's consistent, and it stays over longer term, or over a longer period of time. That's similar with the depression measures as well. Those symptoms, again, are not returning to that baseline level when they first arrived at the treatment program. What do I got here? Oh, okay. All right, so collaboration. We know that this is not something that Wounded Warrior Project can just do alone. This is not something that the academic medical centers can just do alone. And this is, not something that the VA can just do alone. This is something that we all need to work towards. And so in looking at, how best can we help streamline the intake process, how best can we get individuals reconnected with the VA if they haven't, already been. This is a primary source of both physical and mental health care for our veterans. So how can we get them kind of reconnected, and how can we streamline the process? So in a first of its kind collaboration between Wounded Warrior Project's Warrior Care Network and the VA, we've, kind of signed a memorandum of agreement where each academic medical center has a full-time VA case manager / social worker on site who helps with the intake process. They help with the medical records review collection piece of things. We know that's hard to, get all of your records into one place. That task can seem daunting. And trying to get that, on your own is a great reason that folks find to stop the process. It's just too frustrating. So we have the VA liaison to help with that. They're an integral part of the discharge planning as well, finding resources in the individual's local community. And this first of its kind collaboration is really critical for safe patient care and enabling, quality and successful discharge planning. So really proud that we're able to really build that relationship with the VA. And so talked a lot about, what the program is and how can we reduce these barriers to care. This is the second, we just started our second sort of re-up of our contract with the academic medical centers. So we've committed for another 5 years. The initial contract was for 3 years. Obviously, the need is still there and it's still significant, and this is a priority for Wounded Warrior Project. So in talking with the academic medical centers, what's sort of getting in the way of treating more warriors in this program? And it was the physical space of the treatment setting. So in addition to the 5-year grant that they were given for the actual treatment, Wounded Warrior Project has provided an additional grant to each site to expand their physical treatment space that will allow each site, upon completion of their renovations, to double the cohort sizes of individuals that are moving through this program. So this is a priority. This is something, obviously, that we're all committed to, and this is something that Wounded Warrior Project, we're in this for the long haul. We want this to be an opportunity to connect individuals to quality treatment and to really help end the stigma associated with this. That's, something that gets in the way. It's something that we've all said is a really big barrier. And so being able to talk about this, changing the narrative about what it means to seek treatment, making that treatment easy to get to. You don't want to have to fill out a form in triplicate to be able to get in, and then there's a wait list. This is something that is readily available, easily accessible, and ultimately incredibly effective. So that's Warrior Care Network. Thank you.